As an investor, are you not sure in terms of the amount of rent you should be asking based on the area you're investing in? Well, guess what? No need to look any further. This video is perfect for you. After watching this video, you're going to learn the different strategies that we personally use to go by identifying the top rents in the area that we're going after. Hi everyone, I'm Josh Tavares, investor and realtor with eXp Realty. It'd be so great if you can help us out. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to get updates on our newly uploaded content. Now, we get this question asked very often, and one of the valuable resources that we like to personally use is our property management, given their expertise and skills they have with renting out properties very similar to ours, comparing, the neighborhood, bedrooms, baths, finish, square footage, property type, and so on and so forth. They've always been a very valuable resource, and we always tend to lean on their opinion based on how many units. They rent out hundreds of units in the areas that we're going after. However, we like to do our own research as well and use different websites such as Padmapper, as you can see here, which is a really valuable tool that provides you a ton of information. You can literally go and use this website for, all over Canada, US, and I believe international cities as well. So this is a really valuable tool to be able to identify different rents and so on and so forth. So in this situation, we like to use long-term because that's where we're renting out long-term for filtering, but the number of bedrooms, baths, house. Now we don't want to put too much information because then there'll be less listings, which gives less information, making it a little bit more challenging in terms of what we should list the home for. So of course, we're going to click done, and then we're going to look at the listings as such. What's another important feature as well is to look at the listing and take a look at the photos, and you'll be able to have an idea in terms of the finish, comparing with your property and so on, which will definitely help in terms of identifying if this property is close to what you're currently renting based on, like I said, bedrooms, baths, location, finish. You're going to find some of these websites, properties that have, the similar finish and whatnot, but the layout might not be the greatest, or certain amenities may need to be shared amongst tenants, can definitely affect rents and not be eye to eye, right? Or sharing apples with apples. And, this website is really good, provides a ton of information. You can literally just, kind of like Google Maps, go all over the globe and be able to click on different listings and have an idea in terms of, what they have to offer, and also be able to, click on the listing itself and usually provide more information in terms of what they provide, MLS number, and everything here, air conditioning, fireplace, it's completely furnished, garage parking, everything as such. So this is really important for us, especially with our single family rentals, as well as our duplexes, to have a really good idea in terms of what other people in these areas are using in terms of for rental comparables, because it's really important. And many different things go into this as well when it comes to for your rentals. So of course, transportation is huge. If you have access to public transit, especially like LRTs, subway stations, that's really going to help, because the more accessible, you're going to have a higher chance of increasing your rents a couple $100s more a month. Also your amenities, being able to have your own private laundry on site, have a dishwasher, stainless steel appliances, that's going to give you a premium too of a couple $100 comparing to what the market has to offer. So those are really important, points as well. And also too, if you're going to charge utilities to your tenants, that might end up becoming a bit of a reduction in terms of rents you can receive, anywhere between $50 to maybe $200. Really depends on the area that you're investing into. And like I said before, finishes are really important too. Do you have something that's kind of outdated from the last trend, or do you have something that's updated, with, stainless steel appliances with a nice backdrop and everything going on? Like, those are really things you need to look at and compare to what the market has to offer, because, you can charge anything you like, but if it's not in tune with the market is going for, then it's going to be challenging to receive those rents in a quick manner. Remember, we want to get our units rented as soon as possible for the top rents possible. Now, another resource we like to use, very well known for many people, is Kijiji. We search and then add our rentals in Detroit and so on and so forth, and it'll give us a lot of really key information. Now, a lot of times you're going to find these listings in a lot of the same websites. You're going to have investors as well as property management companies that, are really good with marketing, and they're using their listing and leveraging multiple free platforms in order to acquire as much reach as possible so they can get the best rents and get clearly the best tenant possible for their property. And with Kijiji, we like to take a look at all the photos, check out the finish, find out the rents, everything they have to offer in terms of square footage, utilities, Wi-Fi included, appliances. Everything here is possible. And first and first, we like to upload as much information we personally can. So this way, we're not holding anything aside. So we're able to tell the tenants and be as super transparent as possible. So we're not wasting anyone's time, right? We want to be able to show that, hey, here's what we have, and we're confident we have to offer, and be able to provide all that information without having to waste anyone's time, because time is money essentially. And I really recommend that when using these platforms, you have to know your area really, really well and be able to zoom into the area so you're able to catch the catchment area that you're investing into. Of course, if you're investing in an area called example Warrendale, you don't want to have your catchment into an area called Gladstone, right? So you want to be able to have your cursor and have your information in the right area, not comparing apples with oranges, right? It'd be like an example, your area is maybe kind of like a B class, comparing it to an A class. It's not going to really suffice when it comes to actually renting out the property. But hey, if you can, in a B neighborhood, be able to get A type rents, by all means, like that's a home run. Another one also is Zillow. Many people, of course, on social media want to know about Zillow, especially in the US. And same thing, put Detroit or whatever city that you're going after, provide all the filtering of the prices and filters of bed, bath, apartments, so on and so forth. And you can just really zoom in and have a really good idea comparing with the most ideal. So personally, what we like to do is look at the most comparable ones. So make a list of about 5 to 10 properties that look the most comparable in terms of finish, neighborhood, beds, baths, and so on, and be able to come up together with the closest rent as well together, and be able to make a decision what makes the most sense, but also working alongside a property management company to say, hey, this makes the most sense. Let's charge, $1,500, $1,875, $2,200, whatever it is, right? And just to be able to go through all the different properties and gather all the information on these properties, and some of these properties are going to come up as multifamily. So, there's going to be apartment buildings with like 30 units. So something you want to also be really careful with as well, that you're not looking at properties that are multi-unit, comparing to your single family, comparing to your duplex, comparing to commercial, right? Like we want to be as accurate as possible. And that's why it's really important to filter as much information as possible and to make the right decision, right? As an investor, we don't want to overcharge rents, because sometimes if we overcharge rents based of lack of information, then guess what? Our property could be vacant for, a couple of weeks longer than need be, a couple of months. And not only is that an issue because of, being able to generate income, but it's also an issue when it comes to refinancing, because the bank can come back to you later and say, hey, how come these 3 months your property was vacant? Well, I didn't have the accurate information in terms of what I should charge rents. And then that's going to, show an issue there for the banks in terms of lending and providing additional credit and so on and so forth. So like I said, I would definitely look at the most comparable properties, take note, and work with property management. If you do work with property management, be able to find out what makes the ultimate most sense based on beds, baths, comparables, and so on. Another one too is apartments.com. Being able to look at very similar properties. Like I said, a lot of these websites are very similar in terms of search function, and be able to use multiple platforms to not only market your property, but also at the same time be able to collect as much information so you can make the most educated guess. And as you can see with this website here, it provides us with roughly a range from studio, 1,500 all the way to 4,500. Like I said, this is more for apartment buildings and multifamily. But this is good for investors who, of course, in the multifamily space to kind of have roughly an idea in terms of what rents are going for and so on as well. And also, another important key feature is finish, right? If you have a home that looks like this, we're talking about, hardwood flooring, we're talking about stainless steel appliances, a really nice, look and feel. It's got the white, it feels bigger than some other units. It's got the really nice windows. It has a wonderful looking living room. It just feels like somewhere you want to be, you want to belong. You have the ability to upcharge because of the wonderful finish in place. Now, if you're going to have something that is a gut job, it's in terrible condition, you've got, you know, the interior looking like it's from the 1930s, you're not going to get top rents. It's going to be really challenging, even if supply and demand, you know, isn't working in tenants' favor in terms of not having enough housing, you know, and having really low vacancy rates. However, you're still going to have challenges in terms of asking for the top rents, because tenants are going to say, hey, that doesn't make any sense for me. Why are you charging me, you know, top of the line, excellent modern finish for a home that looks like it hasn't been renovated in about 70, 80 years, right? So we want to be able to compare apples with apples and oranges with oranges. And like I said, these types of finishes are really going to win for you, alongside with your amenities, being able to have, you know, a private backyard, having private access to, you know, dishwasher, laundry, like I said before, having access to amenities, even parks, schools, transportation, close access to highways, like I said, public transit. Those things are going to be a premium and really add on over time, and you know, really help in terms of the amount of rents that you can request for and be able to maximize that. And like I said, this is super important because as investors, we always want to duplicate and see how we can scale our portfolio. And if we can generate the most income possible accurately without having many vacancies, it'll really help down the road in terms of building our credibility with the banks, so we're able to receive more lending, build our portfolio, and grow, and so on and so forth. And of course, there's going to come a point where, you know, there's going to be a ceiling in terms of the amount of funds we'll be able to receive from the banks. So we'll have to, you know, partner with other people to use their money. And by being able to use the right information and be able to make the right decisions and to collect rents at the highest amount possible in the area that you're investing in, it's really going to make a big difference in terms of how easier it is to not only, like I said, obtain financing, but at the same time attract joint venture partners so you can build your portfolio to a massive, you know, mass portfolio of single family homes. It could be duplexes, it could be multifamily if you're transitioning, as well as commercial, land, whatever it is. It's all in progression, and starting off on the right foot can definitely lead to, you know, having a wonderful future in real estate. You know, I hope this video was super helpful and insightful, gives you an exact insight in terms of the best ways to go about identifying rents through property management, finish, nearby amenities, you know, websites like Kijiji, Padmapper, and so on and so forth. If you guys have any questions, feel free to throw it down in the comment section. I'd love to get back to you, provide any information that we personally have. Josh Tavares, investor in realty with eXp Realty. It'd be so great if you guys can help us out. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to get updates on our newly uploaded content. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Take care.